Hello everyone and welcome to part 5 of the Flask series. Today we're going to be going over session and memory management within Flask applications. What sessions is basically a way of storing a variable in the server overall, so you can access that anywhere in your code, and it'll just be a universal piece of input until you either get rid of it or you change it. So to get started, you're going to want to go up to your Flask imports and add session to it. And then we are going to want to change our login route to be able to store our session variable. So the way we do it is we're going to be saying session and then what we want it to be called within the session. So in this case, we'll just call it username. And then we want this to be equal to username. So this right here, right when we get the form, we're going to have a variable called username, and then with that username, we are going to define the session username by that username. And to show that it's actually storing it in the session, I'm just going to have this as a rendered template index.html or login.html. That way, when we go to the page where it'll have the username information, you could see that it wasn't from the redirection, it was actually from the session username. So right here we defined our route to take in the input, apply it to the session, and then re-render the login template. So now we're gonna go back here and we're gonna have this just say username, and we are gonna go to this, and then we're gonna define here username is equal to session username. So what our code means, like up until now, is that when you go into the login route, you're going to type in your username and it'll store it in a variable called username, and then it'll go to the session username and it'll be defined by the username we inputted in our form. Then we're going to go to our user route and it's going to take the username from our session and then it's going to display that on the screen. So now before we run our code, we actually need to define one more thing called a secret key. The way we do so is just by typing in your Flask instance, which in my case is app.secretKey equals in quotation marks, whatever. So it can be numbers, letters. I'm just going to type in a bunch of random gibberish, and that will encrypt our session information. So it's not possible to actually run a Flask app without having a secret key to encrypt your session names or session variables. So now let's start our Flask app. Here we go, we're at our login form. Type in my username tonight. Take us back here, but let's go to our username. And here we go, hello tonight. And we can go back to our code and see that it didn't get that code or that username from being redirected. It got it from taking the username from the session variable username. Now, when you're making projects like this and you eventually want to scale it up or post it on GitHub and have people be able to view it and help you out, you don't want to have stuff like your secret key or any other variables that people can use to, do malicious attacks against you. Like if someone were to find out your secret key or maybe an API key that you'd want to store up here, they could use that to take your information or do other things that you probably wouldn't want. So the way that you can counteract this is by using a .env file. So the way that you would use a .env file to get your variable names like a secret key is by using what Python has as OS. So the way that OS works is we can go ahead right here and make a .env file. .env files are usually used to store secret key information, API key information, just stuff that you wouldn't want to be sharing with other people. So let's go ahead and define a variable called session underscore key equals. So now in our .env file we have a variable equal to our secret key. But now how do we use it here? Well, it's super simple. All you have to do is os.getEnv parentheses quotation marks and then the name of the variable that you want to take. In our case it is session key, and you would just type that in there and boom, now you have it equal to a session key that when you upload to GitHub, they won't be able to access. Well, actually, there is one more thing we need to have to hide this when you're hiding it from GitHub, which is a .gitignore. So a .gitignore file is exactly what it says. It just means Git will ignore this file when uploading it, and you just have to type in the route of the file that you want to hide. So we can just do that, copy path, or we can do copy relative path, and just .gitignore, since they're both at the top of our Flask application or our project. And when we upload this project to GitHub, it'll ignore our .env file. So when people go to download this project themselves or look through the files, they will have no idea what our session key is equal to. So far we have learned how to add information, how to encrypt information, but now we want to learn how to remove information. So we are going to add a logout route. So you can just copy what I have on screen right here. The way you remove information from sessions is the same way you remove it from lists with .pop, and then you can just define the username. So you can just run the server. So now we can type in our username, and we can see here it says my username, but if we want to log out, so it returns us to log in, but now let's go back to username. And you can see that there's no username in the session. It is redirecting us back to our thing. I can remove this and just show you how it looks. So in here, tonight, it'll return us to username. Let's say log out. It'll return us to login. And now when we go back to username, it doesn't have any information on what our username is. So that is how you remove information from a Flask server. Now there is one last thing I want to go over before I let you guys go, which is deciding how long sessions will last. So when you're running your server online and it's running indefinitely, there's no way to turn off your server and for the Flask information just to expire automatically. So the way that you handle it here is by importing datetime, which is a library that's used to manage time in Python. So you can write in date from datetime import time delta, and then all you have to do is write in, you can write it under your secret key, app.permanent session lifetime. You put that in some equal sign, and then you put time delta, and then here you can define how long you want it to do. So we could say days equals 30, which will last for 30 days. You can do minutes, you can do hours, you can do seconds, but usually how they'll have it is information will be saved on your computer for a week to a month, and then once that runs out, they'll have to log in again. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to check out tomorrow for the next one. See ya. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.